We all know that our 3D printer filament absorbs moisture, and that this moisture can lead to ugly, weak 3D prints. But did you know that while drying your filament can temporarily improve its printability, the moisture can still degrade the plasticizers inside certain filaments, giving you brittle, stale filament? Or that repeated high heat drying can even degrade the polymers themselves. And plus, I don't know about all of you, but I rarely have the patience nor the foresight to dry my filament for hours before I need it. The problem is, all the existing solutions for actually keeping your filament dry are inconvenient, unappealing, or just unaffordable. So instead, in this video, we're going to try to build a complete filament storage cabinet that maintains a humidity of around 10%, using nothing but commonly available hardware and 3D printed parts. Will it actually work? Will this cabinet be stable enough to hold my filament?
Will I actually be able to finish this thing by the time this video is over?
Or will I end up wasting 12 plus kilos of filament and 3 weeks of my life? Let's get after it. Recently, I made a post on our community tab asking all of you for your absolute favorite designers for a video that I was working on. And one of the designers that you guys brought up was Enrico of CC3D, and he really caught my eye, particularly with his dry cabinet. It's called the H-Dry, and it's designed to be fully 3D printed, multifunctional, and modular. You can put AMS units in it. You can print directly from it. You can add filament dryers to it. You can even put a printer on top of it. To be honest with you guys, going into it, I do have some reservations. Before I discovered Enrico and the H-Dry, I was actually planning to design my own dry cabinet using aluminum extrusions and acrylic panels. The thinking was that these materials are widely available, strong, affordable, and very quick to put together. Plus, I've done some of these fully 3D printed projects on the channel before, and in the end, I've never really been all that impressed with them from a structural perspective. But as I got to know Enrico of CC3D, he assured me that his design offers a number of benefits over doing it that way. First, because it doesn't mix materials like aluminum and acrylic, he doesn't have to deal with the different expansion rates of different materials, which is pretty important if you want an actual airtight seal when heating and drying materials. Second, there's aesthetics. Enrico feels that a piece of furniture, which is what this is going to be, should be absolutely beautiful, and that aluminum extrusions are anything but. And frankly, I'm not going to argue with an Italian when it comes to design and style. All I can say is we're gonna have to see. Now, another concern of mine is strength. Looking at the 3MF files provided by Enrico, they feature only 2 walls, 10% infill, and minimal top and bottom layers, which doesn't scream I can hold 20 plus kilos of filament plus a printer. But here, again, Enrico assures me that I'll be impressed with the finished result. And my final concern, I do want to address the elephant in the room before you all type it in the comment. This dry cabinet, at least with the 20 to 30 spool capacity that I'm hoping to build it in, isn't going to be cheap. We're looking at around $60 to $100 worth of filament per module, depending on what type of filament you use, and another $25 or more worth of hardware, bearings, and acrylic. And that's before you add the filament dryers inside. Now, if you're building multiple units like I hope to, that's a lot of money, and perhaps it would be cheaper to build it with other materials. But considering that comparable store-bought solutions start at $600 for just 4 spools and can cost many, many thousands of dollars for larger units like this, it actually is pretty competitive. And 3D printing stuff yourself doesn't always have to be about saving money. I personally don't mind if something is more expensive if I get more functionality. But again, that all depends on if this thing is actually as good as all the 5-star reviews on Enrico's site seem to suggest it is. There really is only one way to find out, so let's talk about printing the parts. So for my build, I'm predominantly going to be using Polymaker's Fiberon PETG RCF for its rigidity and its heat resistance, and then I'm going to be pairing it with Filament PETG for a gorgeous accent color. And wherever I need especially high heat resistance, I'll probably be mixing in touches of PC, PCCF, PA-HTCF, and so on, depending on what I have on the shelf. Now, my hatred for PETG has become the stuff of legend, but I ended up going with it for a few different reasons. First of all, the carbon fiber does make it actually bearable to print, even in my humid environment. And second, it's very affordable. Third, this project is already designed for the shrinkage rates of PETG. And finally, PETG can be printed on an open printer, which gives me much more flexibility on what machines I print this on. Which leads me to the printers. Because I'm planning to build 3 or even 4 of these units on top of each other, this is going to be an absolutely massive project with literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of printing. Now, because of this, and because I do have a deadline for this video, I had to enlist the help of just about every single printer in my studio and print farm. Now, this gave me a great opportunity to compare and contrast the print quality and reliability of many of my different machines, all at different price ranges. But throughout this process, one of the machines that has most impressed me, especially for its ridiculously low price, has got to be the new Centauri Carbon 2 from this video's sponsor, Elegoo. Not only does the Centauri Carbon 2 ship with a hardened steel nozzle, which was very important for this project, but it's also one of the only printers that I have in the studio that goes all the way up to 350 degrees C on the hot end, making those more exotic materials like PCCF and PA-HTCF that we're going to use later on in the project a possibility.
Look at that, carbon fiber nylon on a $450 printer. That's insanely nice.
Additionally, unlike a lot of the machines with AMS-style systems, Elegoo's new Canvas system allows me to use carbon fiber filaments, flexible filaments, and even 3 kilo spools without fuss. I can even mix in multicolor accents while using carbon fiber filaments, which you can see I did a lot of in this project. And importantly, again, for this project, if I run out of filament on this printer, it will automatically feed a new spool of the same material and continue the print, rather than waiting all night for me to come in and swap the filament. And that saved me a lot of time and a lot of hassle. For now, though, I've been saving a magnum spool of Polymaker PETG CF for a special occasion just like this, so let's go ahead and crack it open and get to printing.
Well, that certainly didn't last very long. To the polyphone. Hello, Polymaker? Yes, all the film. What? Oh, right. Happy New Year. No, yeah, that's on me. I should really plan my projects further ahead. Then I suppose I'm forced to make the ultimate sacrifice. What? No, I just mean using up all my expensive and exotic filaments for this project. But it's not gonna be pretty.
To be honest, the Centauri Carbon 2 did a phenomenal job printing every single filament that I threw at it, from PLA and PETG all the way up to PA-HTCF. In fact, as you'll see later on in the video, some of the parts printed on some of the more expensive printers around the studio didn't turn out nearly as good. Now, I'm not sure if this was because the printer is doing some auto filament calibration, or maybe because Elegoo has very good profiles in their slicer fork, but it was a marked departure from the usual experience I have with pre-release printers, so I really appreciate that. I do have one tiny little piece of constructive criticism, which is that there's no way to clear a nozzle clog in the middle of a print, and with a 350C hot end that has a hardened nozzle, you're gonna print composite materials and you're bound to get clogs, but the machine doesn't let you disable the motors, so you can move the print head away from the back to either get an acupuncture needle in or remove the PTFE tubes, which you need to access from the back. So Elegoo, please allow us to disable the motors during a print so that we can clear clogs, because I've actually lost prints just because of a simple nozzle clog and I couldn't access it to clear it out, but that should be an easy firmware update thing. For the most part, the printing experience of these files is an absolutely smooth one. The files were pre-supported with the settings for each one of the different parts right in the 3MF. One thing that was really frustrating for me personally though, was that there is no print checklist for you to go by. So I actually ended up accidentally printing a lot of the wrong parts or the wrong quantities of the right parts, which, as you'll see later on in the video, would really come back to bite me. Fortunately, I am working with Enrico to develop a checklist of some sort, so if you decide to build this, hopefully by then you will have a better experience. I will say that if you are printing everything on just one printer, one plate at a time, it probably won't bother you and you won't get nearly as confused. But if you are planning to build multiple units printed on multiple different printers, it can get really, really complex to sort out and figure out the hundreds and hundreds of parts, and it's very, very easy to accidentally reprint the same thing twice without even realizing it. And that wasn't helped by the fact that Enrico was kind enough to customize a bunch of the files for some of the upgrades that we developed together, but I am getting ahead of myself, so more on that later. All right, it is the start of a new week. I have most of the parts printed out. However, I'm starting to run low on every kind of possible filament that I could use for this project. So instead of hoping that I got everything right on the spreadsheet, I'm just gonna start building it and we will continue printing as we go along. So let's get going. All right, so that's the bottom and module 1 and 2 done. Now all we need to do is do all of this 3 or maybe 4 more times. All right, so we've got the first 2 complete modules built. 1, 2, and now we just need to go about joining them. Yeah, let's do it. So I made a mistake. What? Jonathan, you? No, never. So I was in such a rush to get everything printed so that I wouldn't be bottlenecked that I just started going down my checklist and printing, multiples of the same things without stopping to consider that I might not have enough filament to finish. So what ended up happening is I have duplicates of, say, this part and this part, but I didn't yet get to this part or that part. So now I might not even be able to finish the whole project.
A little while later.
Okay, so we're running out of filament for sure, but I'm doing something sneaky that I think might save the day. So we have a lot of like nylon and ASA carbon fiber like this one from Filamentum, which is not quite black. And if we have that, we might be able to finish the project. So what I'm doing, and I think this is kind of clever, is I'm taking scraps of leftover of very black stuff of the same kind, whether it's nylon or ABS. I'm using that to do the first layer, and then I'm doing the rest of the print in this. It'll be hidden inside. I can always spray paint just the inside, and I'm hoping that that is going to allow me to use this gray filament, which I have a couple kilos of, and that might allow us to finish the project. Let's find out.
The next day.
All right, so we are back for another day with a new set of challenges. We are running out of these foam gaskets. I thought I ordered enough. I didn't. Why do my projects always go like this? In any case, the seller not only would take 2 weeks to send more, but also they're down to their last roll. It says only one left on AliExpress. So instead, I am printing the gaskets out of this Fadis TPU Air. I've printed some flat ones. I'm gonna also try printing some that are in the exact shape that I want. And I am putting those in instead, and it seems to be working. I mean, we'll see how well it seals when we get this thing up and running and, try to dehydrate inside. But so far, crisis averted. And I think we might be able to finish printing all the parts with the different nylons that I have. So feeling pretty good. I'm actually still not sure if I have enough filament to finish the 4th unit. We're just gonna have to see. But in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and assemble the top so that either way we can close it off by the end of this video. We should probably install the wheels before this thing gets too big and unwieldy. All right, let's put all the fixins inside. Well, as you can see, the one layer of dark strategy came back to bite me in the keister, because these didn't bond on a couple different pieces, and nylon is notoriously hard to get stuff to bond to, so even 2-part epoxy wouldn't bond. So instead of saving filament, I actually ended up wasting more filament, and now I'm really not sure if we're gonna make 4 units. But I guess we'll see. All right, so I'm now trying to print the pieces for the 4th unit. While that hopefully finishes, and hopefully we have enough filament to do it, let's go ahead and assemble the 3 units that we already have. And I am back. Wow. what a whirlwind this project has been. I have definitely earned this shirt, and if you feel like you need one too, link in the description, we do sell them. Overall, it was 3 weeks of printing, 1 week almost full time of assembly, and I'm sure you're all wondering, did I actually finish it? Well, so for the most part, the build itself is done, but unfortunately, despite working nights and weekends and even resorting to child labor at times, I just wasn't able to get this project 100% done in time for this video, as you can see. For one thing, I either misplaced or just didn't receive some of the magnets that I thought I did to actually finish the doors.
Also, between Chinese New Year and the sky closing to make way for Iranian missiles, unfortunately, the poly dryers have not arrived yet, but not to worry because I definitely plan on finishing this project. Plus, Enrico and I are going to be testing a really interesting way for drying it using much less power than the power dryers, using a desiccant loop. I'm not sure if that's actually going to make it into another separate full-length video on this channel or even on the second channel, or maybe just some YouTube shorts on this channel. Kind of depends on how much you guys like and respond to this video. So do get subscribed. Let me know in the comments if that's something interesting to you, and make sure you're subscribed to our second channel if that's something that interests you.
While I can't yet answer the whole does it work question just yet, let's still try to answer some of the questions that I posed at the start of this journey. First, is this thing stable and well built enough to house 20+ kilos of filament? And more importantly, assuming that it keeps the filament dry when I actually close it, was it worth the time, the effort, and the expense of actually building it? Well, for me, personally, I'm gonna have to go with yes. This thing is quite honestly slick AF. The way that the parts fit together, the level of modularity and expandability, and just the sheer amount of thought and attention to detail that went into this design, the H-Dry is absolutely nothing like any of those other fully 3D printed projects that I've done on the channel before. It feels premium and purpose-built, and yeah, it's pretty damn stable even before I put filament in it. No, my build is not perfect, far from it. In the rush of printing all the different filaments that weren't yet properly tuned for my printers, I did have to fix some layers that split when I tightened the screws. Also, maybe because I matched different kinds of plastics with different shrink rates, the doors don't quite close, and I'm gonna need to do some adjustment and fixing on that. Also, the fact that I had to mix and match different filaments that I had on hand resulted in this kind of patchwork of many different shades of black, but to be completely honest, I kind of like it. I think it tells a story, but I would love to hear your honest opinion as well down in the comments below, so do drop me a comment and let me know what you think. But worst case, I can hit it with some matte black spray paint, not a big deal. And yes, I realize that some of the printed parts are pretty ugly, but the good news is that this entire cabinet actually went together with zero glue, and it's designed in such a way that you can literally remove and replace any part of it without having to take the entire thing apart, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. The question then is whether or not you should build one of your own. After all, this project was a lot of printing and a lot of assembly work, like basically a full work week's worth of work and labor to build one this big. And honestly, I'm not even mad about it. If you're the type of person like me who just loves building stuff, then you're really going to enjoy this build, and I can say that I sure did. I particularly liked how the entire build uses the same hardware throughout, eliminating the types of guesswork and annoying bin rummaging that can make some of the builds out there, like a Voron build, feel so daunting. And the instructions, although they are 103 pages long for just the base unit, were so simple and enjoyable to work with that even my 5-year-old called this build, quote, easy peasy. With that said, there are a few things that I would suggest that you do differently should you choose to build an H-Dry unit of your own. First and foremost, it is absolutely critical to keep the parts better organized to avoid misprints or duplicate parts, but hopefully Enrico will be publishing the spreadsheet of parts that I started creating for him, which will help all of you with that. Second, unless you're creating a video about it, which has a deadline, then I really do recommend that you print one unit at a time and assemble it first, just to gain an understanding of how everything works and fits together, rather than trying to do all the printing in bulk up front. Third, as is often the case with projects that I do on the channel, I wish I'd done a much better job gathering everything that I would need for the build in advance and double checking that I actually had it. So that would mean stocking up on enough of a more reasonably priced filament, such as PETG-CF, waiting until the poly dryers and electronics all arrive, and actually checking to make sure that I got the hardware that I think I got and that it was correct, rather than just tossing everything into a bin and looking at it later. I honestly cannot tell you how much less stressful and expensive this build would have been had I just done those few things. Oh, and finally, take your time. This project is not meant to be done in a week, at least not if it's this big, and it's designed to be a fun build that you can expand over time. It's designed so you have that flexibility, and I would have enjoyed it much, much more had I not been working hard against a deadline. So, should you build one? Honestly, why not? Almost everyone could benefit from more filament storage, and unless you live in an arid desert, it's always a good idea to keep that filament somewhere dry. Plus, these types of functional and enjoyable DIY projects are exactly the reason that most of us bought 3D printers, aren't they? And if you are interested in building one, I do have good news for all of you. Because we anticipate that a lot of you are going to want to pick up this system, Enrico of CC3D has very generously offered to give TNL viewers a 40% discount on the entire system, bringing the price down to just 41 euros at the time of this recording. So I will go ahead and leave a coupon code in the description for that. And no, I don't earn any affiliate commission or anything like that, and this video is in no way sponsored by CC3D. I just have always thought that it's really important to use my platform to promote designers building cool stuff for the community and help them earn a decent living wage from their work. So for the select few of you who don't like to pay for even the highest quality models, or think that all things that you 3D print should be free,
Stop it!
and now, I would like to end by paying tribute to the filament manufacturers and spools of filament whose sacrifice made this project possible. Polymaker PET-CF. Polymaker PETG-CF 3 kilos.
Lord have mercy.
Polymaker ASA-CF. The Prusament PETG Brothers. Bamboo Lab PA-HT-CF.
Such a tragic waste.
Soriatech ABS-GF. Noctuo PA-12-CF. Spectrum PA-12-CF.
They were so young.
eSun PA-12-CF. YX Polyer PA-CF. May they live on in our project. That's all for this week, but I'll see all of you on the next layer.